Are you looking for the most effective way to replace a 9 to 5? Are you sick and tired of trading time for money and you want to replace your 9 to 5 with Airbnb arbitrage, also known as Airbnb subleasing? Well, by the end of this video, I'm going to break down exactly what Airbnb arbitrage is, how does it even work, and is this even a good option for you to consider? Let's jump right in. The first thing is, what exactly is Airbnb arbitrage? Airbnb arbitrage is the process where you rent a property at a fixed monthly rent. And then from there, you charge a higher nightly rate and overall generate a revenue that would allow you to make a monthly profit. For example, let's say you rented a property for $3,000 a month. And let's say you started to charge $300 per night. And after 20 days of bookings at 300, you would be at $6,000 of revenue. We subtract the $3,000 of rent that you pay from the $6,000 of revenue, minus some utilities, landscaping, maybe some management costs, and whatever is left is your profit. Think about it like this. We live and operate from this structure every single day, especially when you walk into a bank. You walk into a bank, you deposit, call it $5,000 into your savings account. The bank pays you close to nothing, but let's say they pay you 0.10%. Then as soon as you walk out, I walk in and I borrow that same money from the bank, which is really your money. And I'm going to borrow that money as a loan. And now the bank is going to charge me maybe 10, 15, 20% on your money. So the difference from what the bank pays you and what they charge me is their profit. That is called arbitrage. So you are essentially becoming the bank through the Airbnb strategy. You pay the landlord a fixed amount. You generate a higher amount by charging a nightly rate on Airbnb. And the difference minus some expenses is your take home and your profit. Now, a common question with this strategy is, Jorge, why would anybody rent a property and do Airbnb arbitrage rather than owning the property and just owning the whole thing? Just like McDonald's, right? McDonald's actually buys the real estate and then they lease out the real estate to their franchisees. But they're at a whole other different model, and it didn't always begin that way. The reality is, yes, you are absolutely right if that's how you were thinking, because I used to think the exact same way. Owning the property makes so much more sense. That said, most people, especially with these high interest rates and this super high inflation, are not in a position to go and buy a property to then be able to do Airbnb. And I am a big believer in do what you can with what you have where you are. So if you are able to buy, beautiful. That would be my recommendation. Go and buy property and do Airbnb. Now you're going to get the best of both worlds. You're going to get the cash flow from Airbnb, but you're also going to start building long-term wealth because you're going to get all the cash flow, the appreciation, the depreciation, the mortgage pay down, and all the tax benefits that come with owning real estate, doing short-term rentals. That said, if you are like 90% of my students who are not in a position, at least in this very moment, to buy real estate, then you want to implement, do what you can with what you have where you are. The next best thing is Airbnb arbitrage. And although you do not own the real estate, it is the most effective way to replace a 9 to 5. Let me give you an example. I have a portfolio of 18 short-term rentals today. I have 8 that I own, 7 that I sublease, and 3 that I manage for others. I make the same amount of profit on the ones that I own versus on the ones that I sublease. So whether you own it or sublease it, your profit's going to be virtually the same. The only thing that could have an impact or a variable or a delta there is if you were to put a really big mortgage down payment, then of course you're going to have a lower mortgage payment than maybe a higher rent. But that said, in most cases today, if you are putting a minimal down payment, your mortgage and rent is going to be somewhat similar. It's not going to be twice as much or 3 times if you are renting versus having a mortgage payment. So again, my profit, which is typically 2 to 3K a month, is virtually the same on the properties that I own versus on the ones that I sublease. That being said, let's say you got 50K to invest and you're debating whether you should buy one property with 50K or if you should do arbitrage on 3 properties. Let's talk about the pros and cons. Of course, with the first strategy is if you buy it, you're going to start building equity, long-term wealth, and you will have way more tax benefits. But let's say you're making 2K a month in profit. Now, if your goal is to replace your 9 to 5 ASAP, then Airbnb Arbitrage, having 3 properties, even though you don't own it and you're not getting the equity, you're going to be at 6K a month. So you're going to be making 3 times more on the front end. But with the first strategy, it's better in the long term. But with the arbitrage, it's better on the front end if you start with subleasing, because again, you'll be at 6K a month versus 1K a month. So if your goal again is to replace your 9 to 5 as soon as possible, then Airbnb Arbitrage is going to be the right strategy for you. If you guys are enjoying this video so far, make sure you guys hit that like button. I truly appreciate that in advance. Now, when it comes to communicating with landlords, it is very important that you do not mention the word Airbnb. The truth is, over the last 10 plus years of Airbnb really blowing up, especially in the last 5 years, there's been a few incidents here and there where maybe somebody threw a party, it made news capitalized on this event. And now there's a lot of landlords that when they hear the word Airbnb, they think everyone is throwing a party automatically. So typically when we speak to landlords, we do not mention the word Airbnb because again, they think party. And the reality is we actually do not allow parties or events or anything with music at any one of our properties. In fact, even if someone says, hey, can I host a baby shower or a birthday party for my son or my nephew or my niece, we do not allow any type of music. Plus, these guests that come to the gatherings, they take up all the street parking, and it does create somewhat of a challenge with the neighbors, especially if it is in a high dense area where there's already not much parking available. So the way you want to present it is as corporate housing. I always tell the landlords that we run a corporate housing business where we host working professionals who are coming to the area to provide a service or they are coming for training. We also work with traveling nurses who are coming for work. It could be weeks or months at a time. And we also work with relocation companies, which all of this is true. Now, we do use the Airbnb platform to attract our bookings, but again, we are very selective with who we allow to stay at our properties. So again, it's always better to pitch to the landlord as corporate housing. They are much more receptive to subleasing this way. One more tip before we wrap up this video is go ahead and hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. So this way you don't miss any future videos on my channel. Now here's your bonus before we wrap up. Let the landlords know and clarify that you are going to set up their property on autopay, meaning they're going to get their rent paid each and every month on autopay, not just on time, but even a few days early. And you're the one that's going to be taking all the risk with the fluctuation of income over time. You want to give them the peace of mind that regardless of how your business operates and fluctuates in revenue, no matter what, they are going to be taken care of. So that should not be an issue. And you will also put it in the lease agreement as far as setting up the auto pay. With that being said, guys, make sure you guys also follow me on Instagram where I post content every single day. And as always, if you guys have any questions, please drop them in the comments down below. I always like to be able to answer those, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.